Welcome to another Pops Deck Tech with Dr. Magic. I am sitting here today with Nate Hemenway. Nate is a longtime Magic player, been around, plays lots of formats, does lots of things, and Nate is one of those people that is always playing something interesting, specifically something Tier 1 in the Midwest. That is Nate's contribution to the Magic lexicon. Before we get into the deck, I really kind of want to touch on a couple of things here as we talk about this and New Standard. The last deck tech we did was on a Esper Aristocrats, which was a version of the Aristocrats deck we saw on the Pro Tour with an individual player splash. And looking at this, as we get into this, you'll see that this is Nate's take or evolution on another deck that's been seeing some play that people know about, Atarka Red, although we've called this one Dromoka Red, which is appropriate, and you'll see why. But I want to talk about, as we talk about Standard and New Standard, one of the things that I think is really interesting and that's really cool, and I think New Standard gets a little bit of a bad rap because so much changed. I think the Theros block was really beloved by myself and others. And it wasn't like we added some cards and moved some cards out. It's a wholesale change. And the thing about it is that it can be frustrating, especially if you're a player with limited resources, in that, you just maybe gutted your favorite deck. And now you gotta start from new. But the thing about this is that what we're seeing is all kinds of innovation and evolution. The format is certainly not set in any stretch of the imagination. There's obviously some decks that are putting up better results than others, but Nate, you played back in the Ravnica Theros block Standard, right?
Yeah, I did.
And you basically played, like, which deck did you play?
In the Return to Ravnica, well, I started on some different mono black devotion.
Sure, yeah.
But then I moved to Blueberry Splash, which was like a mono white devotion list that nobody was playing, with like a little blue splash for like Sphinx's Revelation and Detention Sphere, which was really pretty Tier 1 in the Midwest, I would say.
But the point was, I think you hit on it, like, what deck were you playing? There's like 4 answers, right? It was mono black, it was mono blue, it was red deck wins, which was essentially, devotion to red, and then occasionally somebody would come along with like blue white X control.
Right, it was a very stagnant format.
It was really boring.
Yeah.
So, say what you want about this Standard. We'll see whether or not it takes off. Feels a little more modern to me with all the multicolored decks. But the cool thing is that there's places for innovation. And that's what you have here, is a very, very cool, innovative deck that takes an existing concept and improves upon it and adds your own touch to it. Tier 1 in the Midwest, we're going to call you Sam Black in the Midwest. So, all right. So here we go. Let's talk about Dromoka Red. I looked at the list real quick and I said, it kind of feels like Infect. And we have not a lot of creatures. In fact, we brought some of the sorceries out of the spell section just so we'd have enough people to, cards to fit on the mat. Yeah. But really, they function like creatures. So, 4 Monastery Swiftspears and 4 Seekers.
Yeah. They're just the real creatures in the deck. They're the prowess guys. There's, like you said, no other creatures in the deck outside of these guys, so prowess is very good in this deck, and usually triggering off of all the other spells that I'm playing. And they're just very good, very fast, and touching on the Seeker of the Way a little bit, one of the reasons I moved towards white is this guy gives you a really good edge in a mirror matchup with an Atarka Red deck, where he gives you lifelink, and it's not uncommon to gain 10, 12, 15 life just off a Seeker of the Way in one attack. So that's one place where I'd say this deck is definitely an improvement.
Yeah, Seeker, your other 2 creature spells, really, I mean, if you call them Dragon Fodder and Hordeling Outburst, obviously grabbing stuff to go wide, also fuels, your delve stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit. But the neat thing about those is, turn 1 you go Monastery Swiftspear, turn 2 you go Dragon Fodder, not only do you get creatures, but then that in and of itself, triggers the prowess. Seeker on 2, Hordeling Outburst on 3. Now we've got more critters, and you're swinging some lifelink. So
yeah, one of the big problems I saw with the Atarka Red decks is that all of their creatures are just one card for one creature. So they're not really getting full advantage of their Atarka's commands. So with the Dragon Fodders and the Hordeling Outbursts, we can go wide. With Hordeling Outbursts, we get 3 creatures with 1 card, and then a follow-up Atarka's command deals that much more damage.
Sure, pumps them all across the board. And again, we've talked a little bit about Theros rotating. No Bioblight.
Right.
No Anger of the Gods. No Drown in Sorrows. So unless somebody is really rogue and main decking Virulent Plague, yeah, which I have not seen.
Yeah.
We definitely have the ability to swarm in game 1. So that's creature based. That sets up the table. Looks like they synergizes really well. I said, kind of feels a little infecty to me, and that's where the spells come in. So we're going to move on to those right now. All right, Nate, moving on to the spells here. First thing I noticed, lots of 3s and 4s of, so we're very consistent in creatures and in spells. Some of this mirrors, the old Atarka Red, but then, obviously you added the white and have picked up a key couple of things there. 4 Titan Strength, 4 Defiant Strike. That seems pretty obvious, pretty good.
Yeah, Titan Strength is just an all-star with these prowess creatures, as we see in the Atarka Red deck, like you mentioned. But Defiant Strike is probably the biggest reason we're moving towards white. Defiant Strike we saw was a pretty big all-star with the blue-white heroic deck.
Sure.
And they're running it a lot in that deck. And now post-rotation we don't see it much. Defiant Strike really good with our prowess creatures. Lets us cycle, which is it's pretty hard to draw cards outside of a Defiant Strike in the green-red aggro deck. So Defiant Strike very good in this deck.
Sure, places itself for 1 mana. Drop a prowess, give it +1/+1. Off the prowess, give it another +1. Draw a card. Seems like a great addition. I like it. Then we've got 2 pieces of what we kind of call the combo finish here. We've Become Immense, and then we have Temur Battle Rage. I know they're in foreign language, but trust us, that really is Temur Battle Rage. Talk about these 2 in conjunction with how this puts you over the top.
Yeah. So basic gameplay. Your turns 1 and 2, you're going to be setting up your board with different creatures. You have to go turn 3 for a Hordeling Outburst. Then when you get to turn 4 usually, you'll have enough spells that you've cast over the course of the game in your graveyard in conjunction with fetch lands to delve out 5 and cast 1 green for Become Immense. And if you then cast Temur Battle Rage on top of it, your creature gets double strike, and it's a lot of damage out of nowhere.
And so let's remind people, because you can't read it here, what Temur Battle Rage says. Instant, 1 red, 1 colorless. Target creature gains double strike, and then if a ferocious trigger happens,
it also has trample.
It also has trample, which after a Become Immense,
it's pretty huge.
It's obviously going to hit those. So even one of your little lowly tokens, is a 7/7 double strike trample. That's a lot of damage in one shot.
Sure is.
And I think one of the things that you touched on really was your desire to go wide. I said in the spells it kind of feels like Infect, but Infect really picks that one creature and buffs it a lot. I think you're just making it like, hey, I have 4 creatures, you have 3, you can't block them all, so the one that you can't block is going to kill you.
Right. We don't have the luxury of protection in Standard right now, so we can't suit up one guy and then if they have a kill spell protect them. So it's better to go wide and then get one creature unblocked and then bump that guy a lot.
And that guy is all it takes just to get that one through. The 2 big bombs here, we've got Atarka's commands and Dromoka's commands. The Atarka's commands, obviously in an aggressive red-green, something that we've seen before, makes a lot of sense. What are the modes we usually pick on here? Probably the 3 damage and the +1/+1, right?
Yeah, that's just trying to push as much damage as possible, which is pretty standard with Atarka's command.
Okay. But for 2 mana, that seems pretty good.
Very good.
That's a lot of damage, especially if you have 4 or 5 creatures on board. The gem here, the Nate twist, the spice, if you will, here is the Dromoka's commands. Was that something that you went like, hey, I'm going to add white, and it's going to give me, Defiant Strike and Seeker, and oh, by the way, I can run Dromoka's Command? Or did you go, hey, if I put white in Dromoka's Command, and, how did that flow? Was that, top down or bottom up? Where did the Dromoka's Commands come in your thought process here?
Alright, so let's talk about the origins of the deck. We started with Zada as a 4-of in the main board, and we were trying to run like a Zada combo deck.
Okay.
That was way too clunky and had no chance of working.
Sounds like a Nate deck.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
we cut the 4 Zadas, and I'm like, well, what am I going to run instead of Zada in this deck? And I said, well, Dromoka's Command's alright. And then I started looking into it, and Dromoka's Command is probably one of the best cards in our deck. We don't have any kill spells per se in our deck, nothing that says destroy target creature. So a lot of times we can get roadblocked. If we have a Dromoka's Command in our hand and a prowess creature on the field, if I have the 2-drop Seeker of the Way and I Dromoka's Command, it gets a prowess trigger, and then I get to fight. Hopefully their creature, if we're on curve with them, their 2-drop creature should be smaller than my prowess Seeker of the Way. I fight, kill their creature, gain life, and then I can swing with the Seeker of the Way again to gain more life. Also works with the Monastery Swiftspear, or we can just throw a Goblin token to kill a 2-drop. Also works. Another mode on Dromoka's Command that is insanely important right now, and I did not think of until I started playing this deck, is sacrificing the enchantment.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Silk Wraps running around right now, so having a main board answer to Silk Wrap, which really shuts down the Monastery Swiftspear and the Seeker of the Way, it's a great addition to the deck.
Sure, I mean, Wizards didn't give us a lot of great removal for this set. A lot of it is slow removal, and a lot of it is either Silk Wrap or, the Stasis Snare. Obviously, it's instant speed, but still,
right.
Having a way to kill an enchantment that you're not just dedicating a spot to. It's not a naturalize. It's not an erase where you say, and I'm going to give up this spot just to have this removal in case it happens. You have it built in, and oh, by the way, if I don't need it, this card's still really, really good in my hand. So great cards, and another 2-drop. So man, on curve, you just don't need a lot to get rolling. But like any deck, mana base is important, and you got to have what you need when you have it. So let's talk about the decisions you made in the mana base, and let's see what that looks like. Alright, Nate, here we see the land base for Dromoka Red. It's like 6 basic lands. We have 4 mountains, a plains, and a forest. And then that's it. And
yeah, for basics, yeah.
For basics, then. We've got 2 of the battle lands, a Canopy Vista and a Cinder Glade. 2 of the Battlefield Forges. And then a red-green landfall amount of fetch lands. If it fetches and can get a land and it's not Evolving Wilds, you have it.
Yeah, basically.
I think we touched on it a little earlier. I mean, you're fueling up, your delve for Become Immense.
Yep.
Makes sense. And then, even in monocolor decks, like when I run mono white, I'm running as many fetch lands as I can because it just eliminates my dead draws.
Yeah, the fetch lands are pretty important in this deck. The first reason is because we need to be able to fuel Become Immense whenever possible. So we're running as many fetch lands as we can, even if they're off color, like the Bloodstained Mire. Bloodstained Mire is a weird case because Bloodstained Mire is just always better than drawing a mountain, basically. I started with 2 Bloodstained Mires and 2 extra mountains in the deck, but it's just always better to have the Bloodstained Mire because it can fuel the Become Immense, and it can also go get one of the battle lands if it needs to.
Well, the other part of that, too, is you don't really care about your life total.
Absolutely not.
So what's an extra point of damage to go get the mountain or the land that you need? And like you said, fuel the delve spell, plus make sure you have the exact mana you need to put that kill over the top.
Right.
Opening hand, what do you want to see?
Really, I'm looking for 2 lands in my opening hand, and the rest would be spells. 1 land we cannot keep on the play. Sometimes I keep it on the draw if I've got some action. You can keep a 3-lander. It's pretty slow and we're not very excited about it. 4-landers I usually pitch back, but 2-landers, 5 spells is usually the ideal keep. And some combination of your lands need to be red. You need to be able to get red with some combination of your lands.
Okay. And it looks like here we've got 22 lands, so that's about an aggro amount in this kind of standard. Now, great. Now let's talk real quick here before we move on and wrap up this deck tech. Good matchup for you, bad matchup for you?
So we don't really have a per se bad matchup. We're pretty fair against everything, 50-50. That's why I was drawn to this deck. So usually the Atarka Red decks have a bad matchup against what I said Silk Wrap before. So any of the green-white Megamorph decks, and so on. But Dromoka's Command really shores that up for us. So we're pretty good. Our bad matchup is Seedrino. Period. Like, not the Seedrino deck, just Seedrino himself. It's pretty bad because we don't have a main board answer to him, so if he gets dropped, we have to go wide, and we can't rely on our prowess creatures to try and win us that game.
Sure, and you gotta hope while you're going wide, they don't, just top deck another one, because they tend to run in packs.
Absolutely.
They run in packs. Yeah, let's see, the Life Swing hurts, and then, boy, if your removal is the Dromoka's Command, you really gotta pump up a prowess guy to get to that 5 toughness. So, yeah, Seedrino, it's everybody's favorite creature. Can't wait for that thing to run in a standard. This is the deck you're taking to Philly next week, is that correct?
Yep, I'm going to take it to the Open next week and see how it does.
Awesome. Well, I think you got a great chance to really put it on the map, elevate it from Tier 1 in the Midwest to Tier 1 on the East Coast, right? That's where the big boys lie.
Yeah.
So this has been really fun and really cool to see. Nate, always appreciate your take on Standard and the spice you put into your decks. And thanks for stopping by and showing this to us. This has been Dr. Magic with another Pops Deck Tech. Keep tuned into our YouTube channel for more exciting decks, and come and see us on Friday nights for FNM, Friday Night Magic, and we look forward to seeing your take on the new Standard here very soon. Thanks.